All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We are going to go over a ton of stuff in a short amount of time, and we are going to have callers tonight. So we're going to be talking about all of the current events. If Vlad is going to be hiding in a bunker with his buddies because he's about to do something, or is he about to pull out and make peace? We'll talk about all of that and more right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. So proud of my concrete bunker now. Bunker down, mushroom cloud. It's a nuclear country now. So glad, so proud of my concrete bunker now. Bunker down, mushroom cloud. It's a nuclear country now. All right. What is going on? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you've never been here before, we're going to go over all of the current events, plus we're going to have live calls at 224-400-MARF. And we also do things a little bit different here. We have a bibliography of every single video, tweet, archive document, picture that we show you is going to be over on our website at marfooglenews.com. Now, when you go over there, you will actually see that it is all done by thumbnail, so you will look for today's thumbnail, pulling out or doubling down, and then once you get there, you will see that you have all of the sources at your fingertips. That way you can find out exactly where we got this information and if it is something that you believe or not. Now, once you go to show notes, you can see that it actually hits a yellow bar. That yellow bar is web-only content. That is the stuff that is too hot for TV, the stuff that is too far to one direction for us to cover and not risk our channel. Now, another thing too, a great analogy that Dex came up with is, again, we do censor ourselves, is what some people call it. Basically putting it this way. If you were going into a battlefield, into a conflict, would you wear a bright orange vest or would you be wearing camo? So there are certain words that we try to replace with other words so you still understand what we're talking about, but without triggering any kind of hits. So again, thank you everybody for participating in that. That's part of the longtime Foogle fam. We have anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 people watch every show, so I appreciate each and every one of you for showing up and appreciating the way we do things. So thank you. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So we'll get right into the news. We have world's first space hotel to open in 2027 with activities you can't do on Earth. We have talked about this before. There was the ideas and, of course, the money was going into this pot, and they were saying that they were going to make this space hotel. This is actually, I want to say that this is the same one, but there are many in the plans, or at least that's what they're saying. Who knows if we'll make it to 2027 to see it. It says, ready for an out-of-world experience. The cool news is that the world's first space hotel is getting ready to open its doors in 2027. While it might still seem a long time away, plans for the cruise ship-style hotel kicked off the ground about 3 years ago. It says, according to the Gateway Foundation, the accommodation would float above Earth's atmosphere. At the time plans begun in 2019, the project was called Von Braun Station. It says it would be comprised of 24 modules connected to an elevator shaft to make up a rotating wheel simulating gravity toward the edges. since the futuristic hotel has been named Voyager Station and is being built by Orbital Assembly Corporation. So they're literally calling it Voyager. It looks like, well, actually, no, I don't think they know their Star Trek, because that's more like Deep Space Nine, if you know Star Trek. But that is pretty insane. So if this is really happening, and a good chunk of our audience is wrong, and that this all exists out there, and it just say if it's all true, then I always wonder if this is being built for other reasons. Like in 2027, is this going to be required for people to go out there? They call it a hotel now, which makes no one, everybody's like, oh, cool. But what if it was something like they knew something was going to happen here down on Earth, and this was almost like an escape, and you could float around up there indefinitely? One thing that I have heard from someone that says that they are consulting is they are asking how to grow plants in space, and they are looking at all these studies, and then they are grabbing agriculturalists, or these people. We know somebody who is just a agricultural specialist and teaches a couple community college classes, and they ended up getting picked as somebody that was consulting for one of these things. So what's crazy is they're trying to grow plants out there. I wonder if this is because they have to grow plants out there. This is out of science fiction. It's not set out 20 years. So this is like how fast the couple years has gone in the last 2 years. This is 5 years away if it happens. I foresee lots of delays or something happening. But honestly, a couple arguments would be solved in just a few years from now if this is all true. But who knows? Do you believe it? Do you believe this will ever happen? Do you believe that this will succeed? Or do you think there will be a mysterious accident and they say it's too dangerous to do, so we're just going to stop it? Or long term, is this something for the rich, kind of like a what was the movie? Dex, do you remember the movie with
Elysium?
Elysium with Matt Damon, where they had a ring and it had an Earth type, environment, and at first you think it's a normal place, but it's actually in space spinning around. Is that like this? And will the rich and elite live up there? And will the poor and downright be down here on Earth with poor pollution and all sorts of stuff? Who knows? And then Sue Speaks, thank you for the massive support right off the bat. And Irish Rebel, you don't have to do that. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Thank you for supporting Independent. Irish Rebel, I appreciate your support this year. Thank you. And then, again, you can always write something there. William Hollinsworth, thank you for subscribing. Evan Spankinable. And, of course, Rickski for 64, thank you. And TLC, etc. Thank you so much for subscribing. Conquest Josh was one of the last people out last show, and Vibron, thank you as well. Everybody that has popped in now, it looks like over 2,000 have dropped in so far. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and appreciate all the Marfia being positive towards each other down there. And then, by the way, it does say... So another thing to just think about is the way that it's spinning. They've been talking about this for years, about how to make artificial gravity, and a lot of it is a spinning object, or having pods at the end of two sides and spinning it, and the centrifugal force would act as a gravity. I don't think, when is this going to start happening? When are we actually going to see this? And, so if this goes up in 5 years, are we going to be able to look up and see a ring above us, like some sort of structure? That's the big question here. And then Beretta Vandy, and I'm sure even then, most people will not be able to go up there. So even then, I don't think most people will believe it, or a good chunk of people won't believe it. They'll say it's a projection of one or something. Either way, I personally, I am somebody who, obviously, I'm a fan of space and space sci-fi and everything else. And I know that there are people that totally disagree with space in general. But I want it to be true. I want space to be true, and I would love to discover other planets. I mean, I would love to go travel space. I mean, shoot, I'd like to travel the United States or even the world, but if there really was that, I think that a lot of people have that hope. You know, every kid when they were a kid, or most of us, wanted to be an astronaut, right? It would be really, really crappy to find out that it's all, you know, a cardboard stand-up. And then Crafty Veteran and Beretta Vandy, thank you for subscribing. Everybody welcome Crafty Veteran. And then leak in Earth's core brings us close to solving mystery of how our world formed, supposedly. It says the Earth has evolved over billions of years. However, the mystery of its formation remains shrouded. A leak in the core of the planet has now given hints about the formation of our world that begins with the Big Bang, and the secret lies inside a solar nebula. Again, this is their theory. It says scientists have detected helium-3, a rare isotope of helium gas, leaking from the Earth's core. This primordial gas was created shortly after the Big Bang. I think they should say supposedly. And acquired from the solar nebula as the Earth formed. Scientists have now estimated how much of this gas is leaking, which was previously only seen in the middle layers called the mantle. It says the detection of helium-3 indicates that Earth has deep reservoirs of this element, but its locations and abundances remain uncertain. It is worth mentioning that helium-3 can be produced by some natural processes as well, such as radioactive decay of tritium. However, this primordial element is made primarily in the nebula. Trippy to even hear it said like that. It says the study published in the journal AGU Geochemistry, Geophysics, Geosystem states that the volatile exchange during Earth's formation and evolution implicates that a metallic core has a leaky reservoir that supplies the rest of Earth with helium-3, mainly produced by the decay of uranium and thorium. Terrestrial helium-3 is a large primordial origin synthesized in the aftermath of the Big Bang, incorporated in Earth primarily during its formation. It says the new research provides evidence of the formation of Earth in a solar nebula. So this sounds pretty funky, and every single day there is new, I believe now knowledge is doubling every day. It used to be every year and then every week. Now they say that human knowledge is doubling on a daily basis, which is pretty insane to think about. Now all of the discoveries, or, you know, made up discoveries, whatever you want to call it, there is a ton of stuff that we've covered over the last 3 years that have just been crazy. One of the ones that definitely made people scratch their heads, and actually some people got mad, was a couple years ago. They said that technically the moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere, that there are oxygen particles out by the moon, and then they could possibly be even harvested, because they said that it was in the atmosphere, a part of it. I wanted to say it was the geocorona, but it was called something else. Because I believe the geocorona goes so far and then something past that. So if you know the name of that, put it in the chat. What I'm talking about, what part of the atmosphere they say is in, that the moon is in. They say it actually goes twice as far as the moon out. So that would be basically going against everything we learned as kids. So they're basically saying that they found this and it formed. Now, we talked about this briefly on last night's show. Everybody on social media can't get enough of this, and this again kind of cements exactly what we were talking about in my theory, which is that this was done to boost the Oscars ratings, or at least next year. I don't know why people would watch next year thinking, oh, maybe something like this will happen. But I think it would get a lot of talk, and maybe a lot more people would watch it, or watch the replay, or on demand. Maybe they're experimenting. Maybe they'll do a Jerry Springer style slap up every single year. It says Will Smith's Chris Rock slap at Oscars was a choreographed Hollywood display. It says that Will Smith's brutal smack of Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars ceremony was a choreographed Hollywood display, one body language expert says. Celebrity psychic and body language expert Inbal Honigman has explained that the incident comes off as a backslapping display, which saw the two men appear dignified and leisurely, at least on the surface. In the now viral clip, Chris aimed a joke at Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, suggesting that she could star in the G.I. Jane sequel after opting to shave her head during her battle with alopecia. It says a furious Will stormed on a stage, cuffed Chris across the face, and retreated, yelling at him to keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. Stunned, Chris later says, Will Smith just smacked it out of me. It says, however, some fans were sure the incident was just a skit, despite Will's teary-eyed apology during his acceptance speech for Best Actor in the flick King Richard. It says Inball seems to support those claims, at least when viewing the video with the audio off. She explained to Daily Star that body language analysis is not an exact science. In some situations, people would consciously decide to project a certain persona, and along with their voice, their breathing, and their stance, they decide to adapt in the moment. And it says their entire body language could be telling one story while their emotions tell another. It says Will Smith's walk towards Chris Rock seems leisurely. The smack barely throws Rock's head back, even though it was aimed squarely towards his cheek. Chris Rock's hands in his pocket throughout do not exactly show a man who's going into self-defense mode. Well, first of all, I don't think he would, because you wouldn't think somebody would do that if that was real. Either way, as far as there are plenty of people going back and forth. I've even seen a realistic looking picture of, it looks like what is a pad on his face, and I believe that's actually fake. Somebody photoshopped that and has convinced all these people, or a lot of people, that he had a pad on. First of all, the reason I think that is because obviously, as far as actors get slapped all the time. I know Chris Rock for a fact. Somebody posted the clips of him really taking punches in a lot of his films, as far as one of his older films. And then Will Smith has thrown real punches in movies. A lot of the time, they will actually take a punch. In fact, there was one, I just saw a clip of Arnold Schwarzenegger really actually punching somebody, and at the aftermath and him putting ice on it and all that, because it's more real effect. I think that it was a slap. It wasn't even a punch. Anybody could take a hard slap, including Chris Rock. So I don't know why they would put a pad on his face, but a lot of people think that he had like a skin-colored pad. He wouldn't need it. I mean, if they're actors, they're used to that kind of stuff. As far as this goes, why are people still talking about it? I don't know, but I do think that it shows you how stupid that our social kind of just the way that we look at things. Because he's Will Smith, he can do that, and everybody is, honestly, it made out like the public made like Chris was the bad guy. The joke he made was inappropriate, but at the same time, Will Smith comes off as this super nice guy and a hero to all these kids, thousands of kids. He has all these charities. He does all these events. If somebody says something, in theory, you're not supposed to go then physically hit them. That's just, that's, if you are trying to set an example for kids, that's not exactly the one to set. He didn't apologize, and this is just my opinion on this. He didn't apologize to Chris Rock in there. So if it was real, it was kind of like, you're not going to apologize to him. I get that if somebody says something about your wife and being pissed off, I just can't believe they would do it in that setting. I'm just really surprised. I think it was scripted. I think it was to boost the ratings of the Oscars. I think that the last 3 years, all that people have talked about with the Oscars and all of the Grammys and everything else is how badly they did. There's hundreds of videos out last year from how bad all of the ratings are and how little people watched. Nobody even knew who was there. And because of it, celebrities weren't even showing up. In fact, I think it was like the most, obviously there was CV, but many people didn't even want to come this year. They had a ton of celebrities that wouldn't even show up. If you want to call in on this or any of the stories tonight, 224400-MARF. That's again 224400-MARF. That's 2244-006273. Dex.
Hey, one quick soundbite. I heard that Chris Rock's ticket sales have gone through the roof over this. So if you look for why these things happen, whether or not they're choreographed or not, what the consequences are, it obviously was beneficial to him in a big financial way.
Well, and the way he said it, a lot of people took his side because he was like, "Oh, come on, that was nice," and then smack. A lot of people are getting on Will Smith's case as far as, I mean, there are a lot of people calling for him to be arrested, or even one of like the local DAs said like, well, the city will charge him if Chris doesn't or something. I don't know if that is true or not. So if somebody wants to go and check that out, either way though, Chris wasn't pressing charges, so there's not really much they could do. Some think out of the principle of it, he should have spent a night in jail or something. What's your opinion? Leave it down below. Do you think it was a stunt, or do you think it was real? Or do you not even care? I bet most of you probably don't care. Mysterious beams of light in the sky have been spotted around the world. So we've talked about the loud booms. We've heard numerous stories of people hearing loud sounds around the world. We've heard the trumpets around the world. We've played tons of videos on this channel as far as the trumpets of God, or the 7 trumpets, or all the weird things that have been on in the sky. Now there's beams. It says multiple people spotted a mysterious beam of light in the sky last week. It says, quote, the red flare, as many described it, was spotted by people in Houston and other places throughout the world. While the strange red flare might give off an extraterrestrial vibe due to its mystery, the phenomenon was most likely nothing quite as extraordinary, some say. Now, they always have some sort of new phenomena to explain half of these, but it said that they spotted the mysterious red flare over Houston, Texas, the night of Wednesday, March 23rd on the 2022. Others noticed over Pearland, League City, Deer Park, and Missouri City. So it was spotted from a really wide group of cities. Also spotted on the other side of the world, like areas like Egypt several days before. You can see the light in the video, and then it says, well, some have had interesting theories as to what the mysterious beam of light is. Many have attributed the red flare to a light pillar. Light pillars appear when the lights move through ice crystals in the sky, and it creates a beam-like look of light that shoots up to the sky. So we've talked about light pillars, and we've also talked about sundogs. If you don't know what a sundog is, you can Google that. Sundogs is where you're looking at the sun and you see the rings around it. They say that that's also the ice crystals in the atmosphere. So I'm going to go off of this real quick so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll show a screenshot here. Let's see. So there's several shots of this, and people said that they saw this in multiple parts of the world. Now, we'll have wages on tonight because there were more solar flares, and that's actually quite worrying for a lot of us. We've been watching how the solar activity has just shot out of the roof. I just wonder if it's because holes in our ozone. I'm going to ask Wages what he thinks about that when we do get him on the phone. But as far as this goes, to see it on opposite sides of the planet, that kind of would make sense if it was the ice crystals theory, like a prism, essentially shining a sunlight. If you shine a sunlight, it will bend the light. Or are they just saying that, like many other things, that we don't know how many times they've used natural phenomenons to actually explain, crazy or weird stuff. The government could have covered this up. It's definitely very strange, but is it? That's the whole question. Do you think it was UFO of nature? Do you think something was getting beamed out? Do you think this is, the beginning of some sort of Project Blue Book kind of thing? Or not Dex, what am I thinking of? The 3 satellites in the Project Blue Beam. Only now it's Project Red Beam. What do you think it is? Put it in the comments down below. The video is attached over on our website. It is copyrighted, so I'm just going to show a screenshot of it, but you can go over to marfooglenews.com to access the article and the video. And then if you have a video of this, if you actually have your own sighting, send it to marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. And you can submit any kind of video there as long as you go through the process. Just tell us what kind of video it is, and then you can submit it. Now, before we move on, as far as the activity that's been going on and everything that's happening, we'll have Wages on here in a second to tell us about all of the solar activity. But again, we already have been telling people that they should probably be looking into protection from an EMP or a CME, and this is the way to go. EMP Shield is a company that is actually, we started with before they had contracts with agencies like DOD, DHS, and now, of course, on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This is a handmade device that essentially is like a surge protector going platinum speed. It is one of the best ways to protect yourself against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3. It is Keystone military tested. It can take over a Carrington level event, again, which will happen at some point, and it can even protect against lightning. Again, this is 100% American made. It is a veteran owned business, and it helps the show and gets you a discount at the same time. On each EMP, if you want to protect basically whatever you want to run after a CME or a EMP, you would apply this to. So again, there are different kinds of devices. There's one for your car that takes about 10 minutes to put in. There is also one that needs to be wired into your house, your boat, your RV. There's a device for pretty much everything, including a ham radio. If you do not have your items protected, they may be fried. This can actually protect on multiple EMPs, multiple pulses. And again, it is something, probably the best way to protect yourself. marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device, and you will be helping our channel out at the same time. We're independent. We are essentially running ourselves right now with all of the controversial stuff. People think we censor ourselves for the ad revenue when that's not true whatsoever. We are doing it so we don't get deleted. As far as if you talk about anything that comes close to what the legacy media is talking about, you are then put down at the bottom of the barrel anyways. It doesn't matter how many code words you use. But yeah, I like the analogy of wearing camo on the battlefield instead of a big orange vest. That's, again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Let's get Wages World on. And Wages World is actually going to be talking about the solar activity. And we just had two more hit us from this the sunspot that was facing us. So not good.
And Adam Wages is now live.
All right, Wages World. If you haven't checked out his channel, make sure to go do so. Wages, what is happening? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. How are you? You guys doing good?
Great. So I've got a link here to some pictures. Do you want to go through these? And then first off, tell people what just happened.
Yeah, we've had a lot of flares pop off the sun with consequent CMEs with it. I've talked before here on the show about, a double tap. Well, this is kind of like more than just two. Not to mention that it kind of got combined with like a, how can we put this? I guess a solar wind stream would be the best way to say it, I guess. But it is most definitely something that we need to talk about, because it is, they are now forecasting a G3 storm. They haven't done that this sun cycle yet. And so that's pretty significant. And me and Dex were kind of talking there a minute ago. You guys have talked about the termination event that happened. And I do believe, right after that happened, all this stuff started happening. So I do think they were correct. Sun cycle 24 is long gone. It's not coming back, and it's letting sun cycle 25 just explode like it's doing.
So,
I mean, yeah.
Wages, before you go on, just to explain to some of the newer folks or people that haven't, saw the shows that you've been on before. First of all, Wages World has a channel where he covers all solar activity, and he goes in depth and he goes over the graphs and everything else. But as far as what he was talking about with Solar Cycle 24, that was a solar minimum. Over the last few years, if you are not too familiar with the subject, you may have heard people talk about it's the solar minimum, it's the solar minimum, it's the solar minimum. Now we are past the Solar Cycle 24. There were a few scientists that are highly respected, and a lot of folks are now going over to their theories and using their papers as their kind of guidebooks. They said that they believed this event that happened just not too long ago was the termination event. So even though we were technically into the cycle 25, they said that the cycle 24 was holding on, like cycle 24 was grabbing cycle 25's shirt and holding it back. And then the termination event, somebody walked up and went, pow, and 24 is long gone. Now we are in this very unpredictable, unpredictable strengths, but they have looked at 400 years of data, and they if you are going by the 22-year cycle or even the 11-year cycle, there's possibilities for insane things to happen in 2023, 2024, and 2025, or even now. And that's what Wages was talking about. So
yep.
we've already covered so many flares, Wages. Like, this is insane.
Yeah, I know, and that's kind of the thing, guys. There is a technology they have now that they've been using. We don't have satellites on the backside of the sun that are really good for a whole lot of things, but they're using seismic activity on the sun to be able to detect sunspots on the backside. So we've seen this stuff happening on the backside, and now because of what you just said with the termination event, it is allowing this to happen all over the sun. And right now it's happening right in front of us. I mean, it couldn't have happened. These flares that are happening could not have happened more right in front of us. We've had and let me explain what the flare issue, the flare, when you get, that's X-ray. That's the part of the eruption that's X-ray. That's what causes the radio blackouts. Those radio blackouts don't typically last that long, and they're very specific just to the day side of the planet, because they're traveling at the speed of light, so they're here in 8 minutes. So there's no warning for that kind of a thing, but something else is happening right now that we haven't seen much of. Now we're getting a proton flux with it, which is what causes radiation storms. And that comes in, you can see it on the absorption chart. If you go down to the BK4, Adam, if you want to show that pic, you can. You'll see it's showing you those protons in the north and southern poles. So that's radiation. Now, this is a low level one right now, but it can get more intense. The longer it hangs around, the longer, the better chance it has. So that's what's going on with that. And it does come in on the poles easier just because of the way our magnetic field is set up. And that's true for geomagnetic activity too, with the CME stuff. So I want to make sure everybody understands there's a difference between a flare and a CME. That's a very big difference, because we've had 17, is it 18 now? So we just had another one. We just had another M flare right before Dex contacted me. It's crazy what's going on right now. But we're going to get the CMEs, but they don't always happen with a flare. It's not required. So we've only had like 3 CMEs pop off, but they've been moderate CMEs. They're not little ones and they're not huge ones, but they're going to be in sequential event style, and it's not going to allow our magnetic field to be able to recover in time to really be able to deflect a lot of that stuff, which is why they're now, if you want to go down to that, the BK7, Adam, you'll see they're forecasting. And they're forecasting a G3 storm on the 31st. And that's something else too, guys. These things aren't moving slow. They're not moving fast, but they're not moving slow. to give you guys an idea, the Carrington event CME flare that happened was here in roughly like 18 hours. Okay, these are taking 2 to 3 days to get here. So they're moving slower. And if you don't know what the Carrington event was, that right there is something you can look up on Google if you needed to, but the little short skinny of it, big CME, 1859, fried telegraph lines. Telegraph operators were having their headsets catch fire in their hands. I mean, stuff like that. But that thing was moving at a speed that it got here in 17 hours from the sun, and the sun's 93 million miles away from us. That's over 5 million miles per hour. And these right here are probably moving between probably 2,500, about half that speed. So maybe even slower than that. But you can see there on the 31st, G3, and you can see that we stay in storm level for a good amount of time. And something else I want to point out, we drop out of storm level on the 31st, but if you look at April 1st, look what happens. We go right back up into it because we get hit again. And this is their forecasting. This is all subject to change, but I don't think this is going to get lower is what I'm saying. If it changes, I think it's going to change the opposite of what we normally see. I think it might end up being a little bit stronger, but what can we expect? Well, there is that, especially high latitudes, guys, northern, southern, getting closer to the poles is what they consider high latitude. And you'll see transformer issues. You'll see, power surges.
Did we lose you?
Adam, I think he may have cut out for a moment. I'm still here.
I just want to show you whether if you look at this where the absorption is, it makes sense to what he's saying. Look at where the red is. It's basically Canada and up and then down here. Now, that might not always be the case. In fact, they used to think that if a flare hit, if it hit up here, that it wouldn't affect down here. There were certain events, even as recent as 2015 and 2018, I want to say 2015 and 2017, that showed scientists otherwise. Like it hit up here, and it ended up doing damage down here in Africa, I believe it was. So there's a lot of changes happening, and as there's more discoveries, it's actually bad. Like it's been getting scarier the more they discover, because they're starting to put together 400 years of data along with now new technology, and they're able to say, holy crap, something's going on. It makes me think that, again, that there's something to do with the sun and why everything is happening right now in the world, why all countries are just getting together and doing things together right now. Or the opposite, right? Maybe that is why something's happening.
I think I'm back, Adam. I'm not sure.
Okay, good.
Checking.
We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Where did I stop there?
You were talking about
I'm sorry.
the different poles and how it hits the south and north the most. And
right.
That.
Yep.
And then
that's where we were at.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do think that's a good. You guys have to understand that that's where it mostly comes in at. So, if we're expecting, did we get to the G3 stuff yet? I can't remember where we were at. Did I already talk about that? I think I did.
Yes. And then there's a few more pictures here. We have BK6 and BK5. Yep.
Those are two of those CMEs from a couple of those flares. And you can tell that they're substantial just by looking at those. Now the Earth isn't that close to the sun, guys. I put that there just to give somebody a reference of the direction, just so you know. But those things, it spreads out, and anybody that's ever seen any of these pics before in any other coronagraph, because that's what these are. These are on a satellite. They're being taken from a satellite from not really the side anymore. It used to be like a direct side view of the sun, but it's kind of more at a 45-degree angle now. But essentially, it's kind of a side view. So we get this angle that we get a look at that gives us directional, be able to tell what direction that these CMEs are traveling, and see if it's going to miss us to the north and to the south or whatever. But these are substantial, and these are not small ones. But I want to make it clear they're not like huge either. But what makes it significant is the fact that there's more than one of them coming essentially at the same time. We're talking 12 hours in between these CMEs, and this second one, the number 2, it is actually moving faster than the one in the front of it, so it's going to catch up to it. And the timing of that is extremely hard to point down. And so what happens is they kind of combine, and you'll get like they call it an interplanetary magnetic shock wave is what they call it. And it's essentially just atoms blasting into each other. And they don't really, like collide. The magnetism, they actually push away. It's crazy technology and crazy physics that, would take a long time to explain. But essentially it's just atoms pushing against each other, and it causes a shock wave. So that's the second thing that we got to, take in consideration here. So the timing is really where it's at. Timing is where it's important. And unfortunately, with the timing part of it, we won't know until it's, gets closer. It's just really hard to forecast, and you'll see it in their forecasting. If it changes, they will change it on the NOAA forecasting models. Some people get upset about that, but I like it because, if they get different data in, why would they leave it wrong? You know what I mean? So, but the NASA model, I just want to say also, is confirming what NOAA is saying. So we have multiple organizations agreeing, multiple different models agreeing. This is, we're not missing this one. I can just tell you that right now. Heck, we're already seeing it with the radiation storms. So that's, and again, we get the x-rays from the flares. The radiation comes from the protons. It's a proton flux thing. And that, people kind of get a little, freaked out when you hear radiation, but it really truly essentially is for people that fly. There's issues there. If they fly long hours like pilots and crew and stuff, they really suggest to them to not fly as much during like cosmic ray events and stuff like this, because it's essentially just like getting an x-ray at the hospital. So if you're pregnant and all that stuff, they do advise you not to fly when you're up there. So, but yeah. So that's kind of what's going on.
Well, I think that we're going to have you on much more because it just keeps going. And in the last 4 years, just in the last year, it's been nonstop. And that's what was talked about in 2019 and 2018. I remember them saying that this next one is going to be potentially the craziest sun cycle there ever was. And they're doing that not because they have a crystal ball, but they've looked at the data, and it's more than one cycle. It's like every 4 cycles they'll see this one event that triggers something, and then they can look back and see these weird, crazy events. And now we are at that end of the 4 solid cycles or the 8 solid cycles, and then boom, you have that termination event. Now this new cycle, which is possibly a part of another chunk of cycles, is now going to get absolutely insane. You have all of the elites basically preparing for the end of the world and end of civilization. So why the heck, what is really going on here?
Yeah, and I think that's the question. I think you hit it right there. Is what's coming first, the chicken or the egg, or are they both coming at the same time? And that's kind of what, when I look on the world stage, that's what I look at. And, I think you guys do a great job of, showing both sides of that. And I appreciate it. And, and to what you said earlier about the termination event, I'm glad you clarified that for people, because so far this sun cycle, we have come above their forecasting numbers of the amount of sunspots every month. And that's not normal. That's not a normal thing. So, and you were speaking of the 2 scientists, and they were saying this. They've been saying this for a while now. So this isn't something new to them. It's just taken a while for the rest of the science community to catch up. And now a lot of them are actually jumping on board with that. And it's good to see. It really is.
What's scary is they're
I
right.
I think that both. Yeah.
Because you look at the other stuff they said.
It's all right, So I think it all plays together with everything that we see around us and everything that's going on. And I really do. And I can't tell you how much that I appreciate both sides being covered. So,
well,
anyway, if I can help out at any time, just hit me up. I'm here.
Well, Wages, you are becoming our solar weatherman. So thank you so much for coming on today. And again, I mean, it's not exactly a good thing that you need to come on, but I believe we're going to be having you on more. So thank you so much for breaking that down, Wages, and thank you for the graphs and the pictures. Again, all of these are available over on the website. And then your YouTube channel, Wages World, what are you at now? If you mind me asking.
I just got a boost yesterday from Paul Begley. He showed some of my stuff, and it actually, because of you and Paul's channel, within the past 2 weeks, I'm now over 50K. And
congratulations.
That's been a goal of mine for a long time. So it's awesome. And it's a lot of it's the Foogle fam.
Well,
and I can't tell you how appreciative I am. It's awesome.
Well, congratulations, Wages. And again, make sure to head over to the channel, marfooglenews.com. You'll have a direct link. You'll have all of the pictures and every single thing that we just showed you here today, including the graphs and everything that Wages sent us. And then, of course, his channel link, which if you want to follow this more in depth, you can go over to his channel. And, of course, he'll be following this on a daily basis. So make sure to go and head over. And then, by the way, he texts me when these things happen. So if there is a really emergent one, I will make sure to get that out to you as fast as I can. Usually he is incredibly fast. Like the second it happens, he's texting me. If it's a really bad one, I'll try to call him and we'll get Wages on right away. So thank you, Wages, and I appreciate you, and you have a great night.
You too, bud.
All right.
Good night, Foogle fam.
All right, we'll see you in a bit. Bye. Well, hopefully not. I mean, it's something like I like Wages, but it's not always going to be a good thing that we talk to him. So maybe we'll just have him on one day just to talk about nothing, right? Because then we can say, hey, it's good to see you. It's kind of like, hey, the Reaper's coming over. Oh, that guy. But, he's a cool guy. He's really good at, ping pong. Barry Munson says, hi, Marf and Dex. You need to get a hold of Ben Davidson at Suspicious Observers, also a YouTube channel. So that, I know about his channel. I think he does great stuff as far as the way he puts together his videos. I think that he has been around way longer than I have. And he did I'm pretty sure it's him that did the documentary style video talking about how possibly all of the past huge events have been the sun. So I have actually suggested that people go at least check him out at Suspicious Observers, many times now. He is considered an expert in space weather. Yes, no, and again, he's welcome too. Barry Munson, thank you so much. Jeff Crawford, thank you for the support as well. And I hope I didn't miss anybody, but it does look like a few people popped in. Thank you so much. Over on D-Live, thank you for the D-Love. I appreciate all of you guys over on that platform keeping it alive. And it looks like we have some not so strange names. Zippy Moons says, love to you all. The big red bear never pulls out. I'll catch the replay on D-Live tomorrow. Zippy Moons, thank you, and I hope you ended up watching past that because that was very informative. Lisa K23 released the Quackin'. Gem, thank you for modding. Make sure right now, go thank a mod. They are doing a great job keeping it positive. Some of the few only rules is just push people up. Don't talk badly about any callers. Nobody really talks badly about Wages. But if we do, we don't know who's going to call. Just think of it this way. If you were calling in, how would you like to be treated? Another thing is, I hate when people say, there was a caller once that people said, oh, this guy sounds drunk. The guy had a stroke, and obviously you don't know what is on the other end of that phone. Now, if the person says, I'm super drunk, then okay, you can say, yep, he's drunk. But otherwise, that kind of comment, it's like you don't know what their life is. Maybe they had a car accident. Maybe they got impaled in the face or something, or had shot put from a shotgun in their face or something. You don't know. I know two people in particular that are straight as an arrow, and they have different talking things. One is a stroke, and then one is he got hit by a shotgun through a wall and talks funny for the rest of his life. And again, how would you feel about that after you found that out? Why say anything bad about callers? And just be patient. We're so blessed to be here. Every single morning that I wake up and I can look at my kids, I am blessed. So that's why I don't get why people want to put people down, cause drama, do all these things. Let's just push each other up. Like, let's move forward. Let's seriously help each other. Let's forgive each other. Let's push everybody up. Well, I'm on the subject too, praying for all of the Foogle family members out there that are going through rough times. I hope that you are all doing well, and that your day is going really well. Okay, let's get back to the news. We have carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, USS Miguel Keith operating in the South China Sea. Now, this is in addition to the other crews that we have already told you about. There are other carrier groups there, I believe. It says aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln is on a Manila port visit in Manila after operating in the South China Sea. Expeditionary Support Base USS Miguel Keith is in the Philippines for the upcoming U.S.-Philippines joint exercise, Balakatan. It says, U.S. destroyers conducting firing exercises in the Philippines Sea on Thursday. Now, remember, Philippines is one of the countries that is actually still claiming, along with Vietnam and others, they all want to claim the areas of the Spratly Islands. Almost all of them kind of have a claim to that South China Sea area. And that is where China built the Spratly Islands, took the dirt from the bottom of the ocean, piled it up until it was an actual island. They created an island where there wasn't one, and then took, a couple pieces of dirt floating above ground, and then turned those into airports and military bases, and sub bases and docks and ports. The Spratly Islands were basically, created, right? And using that, they say that they have claim to those waters. The world doesn't recognize it, or most places in the world don't. But as far as the exercises that are going on there, there's always these freedom of navigation drills and exercises. There's always live fire exercises. We cover all of them because any one of these could turn into something more. Also, we don't know if the dragon over in the east is going to take Taiwan. They could take it overnight. I don't think it's going to be like it was with UKR. I think that when they do take Taiwan, that it will be more of a sudden thing. Like, there won't be any power, which, by the way, just recently the power got knocked off for a huge chunk of Taiwan. All of a sudden, Taiwan's web was down. Internet was down basically for Taiwan. All of their web cameras and a massive fire at a power plant. I think that was practice. And I almost think that they were looking at how they responded, what they did, how they were able to get things back up and running. Because when you think about it, the one thing is, if we don't have groups over there, how it would physically work if they took Taiwan. They're only 100 plus miles off of the coast of mainland Dragonland here. So they would be able to get there fast. In fact, unless we were already stationed there with thousands of troops, we would have to get word. What they would try to do is jam any kind of communications going out of Taiwan. We might find out late or find out through satellite that they are doing it. Then we would have to send groups over. As far as the groups that we're talking about here, there's a small chance that there was intel that nobody's going to find out about yet, that they were planning on doing it tomorrow. So that's why they're shipping these over there now, or that they're going to do it in a week from now. And that's why they're shipping more ships. Of course, there's the normal drills and the exercises, everything else, but there's always a chance that those could coincide with intel or something going on. As far as why I think that they are absolutely going to take Taiwan, you could hear it in the president's speech saying that Intel is building a semiconductor factory, and that we're going to be making everything in America. It sounds a whole lot like we're not going to be making anything in Dragonland, unless he is on their payroll. So we don't know. Could be, could not be. What do you think? Do you think that Taiwan will be invaded this year, this month, this week? We always cover it. And then Moscow hardened stance from ruble gas payments from Europe. Remember, Europe is getting gas from the bear, and they said, oh, well, we might stop doing it at the end of the year. Basically, they are dependent, and they can't just stop taking it, right? So they're supporting this horrible, the way that they're making it out is basically like if Adolf was taking over countries, and then they were like, well, we still need their wheat, or we still need their fuel. So we're going to keep giving them money in the meantime. They've cut the bear off from SWIFT and other banking services. So what the bear did is they said, hey, you're going to have to you're going to have to purchase our fuel and our gas and our oil in rubles, in our money. So they have to then buy rubles or convert it into rubles and then purchase it with that. Now, it says that the bear is working out methods for accepting payments for its gas exports in rubles, and it will take decisions in due course should European countries refuse to pay in their currency. The Kremlin said on Monday at a meeting of the European Union leaders on Friday, no common position emerged on the bear's demand last week that unfriendly countries must pay in rubles, not euros, for its gas in the wake of the United States and European allies teaming up on a series of sanctions aimed at the bear. And this did send waves throughout the international community. So we'll see how it goes, and we're going to continue to cover it. Soaring prices are changing the way people eat. It says cooking oil, chicken, and other kitchen staples are increasingly out of reach as fears of demand destruction begin to materialize. Now, remember, just about a few days ago, the president said, and by the way, it doesn't matter if the president is saying the truth or not. If the president says it, the world is going to freak out. The president said, you are going to see real, and he wasn't saying like you as in somebody else, that the American people are going to see real food shortages. When there's millions and millions of people that are going to go, whoa, there's food shortages, and they're going to go out and panic buy. I think part of what is going on is a bunch of that extra stock up. It's not as bad as when CV started and everybody went out and locked down and nobody knew what was going to happen. But it is, the more and more that it gets out that happened and that this was said, and then it starts snowballing, there is less and less in the grocery store. It's actually, in some stores, it is starting to look at it like the beginning of CV, especially for chicken, frozen foods, canned foods, long-term storable foods. It's really it's starting to pick up. We told you guys this, so again, don't say we didn't warn you. We only warn you not so you're afraid, so you are prepared. It says in India, roadside restaurants are halving their palm oil use and moving into steamed snacks. Bakers in Ivory Coast want to cut the size of their standard baguette. Sandwiches from the U.S. fast food stalls are headed for fewer slices of bacon. Pizzas for a more parsimonious sprinkle of pepperoni. It says, with the world economy already shackled by CV-related shortages and now reeling from the Bears' invasion of UKR, it says prices of such basics as bread, meat, cooking oils have jumped across the world, sending shockwaves through commodity markets and damaging the global food system. I also would, as far as if you were to buy a house right now, all of these things have just skyrocketed. I bought 3 literal wood shelves from an Ace Hardware, and I could not believe it. I bought 6, 3 small ones and 3 big ones, and I could not believe the price it was. I took them back. I said it was like $34 or something for a little piece of wood. It was painted and stuff like a shelf, but I was like, it's crazy because you probably know that that's coming from here or something. And then if you basically have to go to like IKEA where it's made in China to get it for cheaper. And even then, the wood has shot up so much, it's absolutely absurdly priced. I could not imagine going from building a house like the caller the other night called in. Just a reminder, 224-400-MARF, 224-400-6273, called in and said that they built their house just a few years ago, and it was like what? It was like $5. Now it's like $50 per cubic square yard or whatever it was. It was a gigantic jump. It was like $8 to $50. It was basically...
It was OSB.
Was it OSB?
It was the OSB board, Oriented Strand board. I think he said it was $8 and it went to over $50-something.
That's right.
Same board, each board.
And I just can't believe lumber, wood, OSB, anything that has to do with building, with food, with transportation, everything is just jacking up. And it's like we are collapsing the planet right now. It's almost like it's on purpose. It depends on what you believe was real or not. If you don't believe, then you're like, then who the hell is doing this? You know, you can't go to a new system unless you collapse the old one. Just saying. All right. And then as far as everything that is hit down, I mean, it's like we are covering it on a daily basis now. It's one more thing after another, after another, after another, after another. All right, and then we, if you want to call in, 224-400-MARF. Real quick, I just want to say a big thank you again to Irish Rebel. Brett Butler says, Seminole, Texas, peanut, rye, and cotton farmer, heavy drought, strong winds, a rough year, but you better believe we are putting in that extra time. Wow, that's amazing. So, rough year as far as you are doing peanuts, rye, and cotton, and you are putting in extra time just to make it. That's crazy. Anna, Lily's mom, thank you so much. And I believe you probably accidentally did 2 there. Thank you. Again, you can actually fix that with YouTube if that was an accident. Thank you so much for your support. And then Barry Munson, thank you so much. Again, Jeff Crawford, Stephen McMahon says, God forbid, Dr. F says more pandemics with worse lockdowns coming. How long, Lord? That's another thing. They could just as easily say something has twisted, something has mutated, and then boom, we're right back into stage 1. Or phase 1, I should say. Tico and Taco, I missed you. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Lucky7 Nico says, hey everyone, hope you're having a great day and night. What's up, D-Live, from your YouTube fam? I love the fam. I love that you actually used it to say hi to the other platform. Ilea, hurtful words do not give anyone the right to get violent. Sad to see a well-known role model lose his poop like that. Much love, Foogle fam. That's what I'm saying, Ilea. Like, yeah, you know, so many kids look up to Will Smith. I know that for a fact. I've met kids that have idolized him. I mean, he doesn't, you know, even his rap album, he never swore. He he's done a lot of good as far as a role model stance, but I didn't know until today that there's rumors of him being a Scientologist. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a ton of rumors saying that they are, and I just thought that was crazy. Are they new Scientologists? Because I've never heard that rumor before. Or is it just completely fake, like they're just putting it around Twitter? Toss Dare, if you want to go to Hawaii, do it, Marf. You guys deserve a holiday. Thank you. And again, thank you. Appreciate everybody that is popping in. All right. And then Dex, let's go to the next caller here. And it looks like we have James, first-time caller. Make sure to call in 224-400 Marf if you want to be on right behind James. And then...
and Adam, James is live.
James, you're live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, how's it going, Marf?
So what's happening?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you wanted to talk about... All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was just wanting to comment on, you guys were talking about EMP and CMEs. I got to thinking about it because, there's always going to be good guys and bad guys, right? Well, we got to find a way to protect against the bad guys, right? So the good guys are always going to fight the bad guys and so on and so forth. Well, it got me thinking, and I really love Nikola Tesla and the Carrington event, the Tunguska blast. I'm into space and technology and things like that. So I started kind of researching this, and I came up with this idea. And they have what's known as also a Faraday cage. A lot of people know what that is, to protect against EMP attack, CME, that kind of thing. So, but imagine, if you will, a massive grid, okay? The entire United States of America, okay? There's a system in place already, but it's not being used. And what I'm talking about is telephone poles, okay? Imagine every telephone pole in America is connected to every town, every mountain, every lake, every thing in the country is connected by wooden telephone poles, okay? So imagine, if you will, right? Earth has a defense shield. We have a shield that protects us, a magnetic field, right? Well, in theory, in the same way I'm talking about here, imagine what I'm calling a Faraday blanket, okay? So imagine you put the right type of tech on top of these poles at our grid station too. Imagine a massive grid, okay? You could light the entire country up. A couple of things you could do. You could turn the entire country into the world's biggest satellite dish. I mean, you could literally send and receive information wirelessly. When Nikola Tesla told people in a room full of people, someday you're going to be able to send wireless pictures through the air, wirelessly. And they all laughed at him, and here we are, we're doing it. So, but in theory, I guess, I tested this out a little bit, but we would need something to gobble up. If we can send EMP, then there should be something to also receive it, but on a massive grid. So I'm just saying that my idea would be that the linemen, the guys who go out and work on these telephone poles and hook them up and set them up and repair them, even if the hurricane came and knocked out a town or a state, then these devices would still be at the top of these poles where we could still have wireless transmission of power. It wouldn't wipe out everything because the poles, there's always some standing, right? Well, in theory here, putting what I'm calling a Faraday box on top of these telephone poles to gobble up EMP and CME on a massive grid using the country's infrastructure, I guess, the telephone pole, every telephone pole in America or every other one, or strategically putting them, and you could test this out on some small abandoned town with like a pinch or something, an EMP pinch. It would be like a Faraday blanket, so to speak, that would gobble up EMP or CME on a massive grid.
Wait.
There would be other applications.
So I have a question. So somebody said that they're removing a lot of the poles, but like, just for instance, there are areas that they have the underground electricity, underground telephone poles, all that. So basically in those neighborhoods, usually it's the nicer neighborhoods where they put it underground so it doesn't affect the view, right? In Seattle, for instance, there's a neighborhood called Blue Ridge. They're the rich houses with like the $2 million houses, mansions, and they don't have power poles, right? But what about there's areas where there is no poles? Would that affect the overall effect of it, or would it only be protected in the spots where there are telephone poles, under your theory?
I'm assuming mainly where the poles are in use. Areas like parts of the desert and things like this, maybe not so much. But we are talking about wireless transmission of power here. You can't see it, but you know it's there. It is energy. And since we can send out energy, we can also receive it. So if we're able to create an EMP pinch and make the city go dark, then we should also be able to, in the same respect, in theory, like Tesla talked about, he was a genius, but we should be able to gobble it up as well and receive it on a massive scale or grid. I mean, you would be able to, if we did something like this, or we had something like this, you could test it out on some small town, abandoned town somewhere where nobody lives, and use the telephone poles, the wood poles there, and do a small pinch and see how this works. And also the stations, the power stations, and they're wanting to go to. I've seen it popping up in little towns everywhere, where they're using these cell towers. I mean, these power cell towers, for energy, instead of, they're getting rid of the power stations. But we could protect our grid and our power stations and our infrastructure with basic a Faraday cage, so to speak, around our massive energy stations where the power stations are. If we did this, you know what I mean? But the poles could gobble up, send and receive.
Well, no, I get what you're saying, but that would require them to put a Faraday cage around all of the power. They could do the same thing. They could actually, if they put, say, an EMP shield around the whole system, I think it's more of an issue of doing it and more of fixing something before it's broken, which the U.S. doesn't do. It's like they'll wait until an earthquake happens to then go fix it, instead of knowing an earthquake is going to happen to go retrofit and put iron bars in brick buildings. It's like they're going to wait until all those brick buildings crumble into dust and kill thousands of people before they go and retrofit everything. It's like we don't fix things until it's broken. I bet you they already did kind of contracts with EMP Shield where at that point it looked like under T-Man he was going to harden the entire grid. Parts of that were undone, but that's still standing. But it's going to take years and years and years. So I wonder how long it would take to do what you're saying. And I don't know. I'm not a scientist either, but at least somebody said at least you are thinking in the right direction. At least you're thinking in general. People don't even think about this kind of stuff. At least you're trying to come up with solutions.
Earthquakes. With a system like this, that tech on top of those poles, we could monitor earthquakes much closely. Any kind of weather-related event. We could have more intercommunications with space and reaching out to other solar systems. The entire country would be a gigantic satellite dish. You wouldn't just be using it to gobble up EMP. You would also be using it to monitor weather, earthquake events, missile defense, all kinds of stuff you could use it for. We have the technology available to us. I mean, these smartphones that we have, they are so capable of everything I'm talking about. Imagine putting something similar to what you use every day, a smartphone, on top of these telephone poles strategically. Maybe not every pole, but every 10th pole. And then you go in and you connect wireless transmission of power. You can monitor things much closer. You know what I mean? It just hasn't been done. That system is in place. Those poles are there, but nobody's using them like that. That's my whole point with this. I just really feel that it could be beneficial, help save lives, protect lives in many aspects. You know what I mean? I just really feel strongly about that, and strongly about protecting our country against the bad guy, or CME.
Well, James, I again, I don't know the exact. There's probably some experts in the room that probably understand your theory a whole lot more. But I appreciate it, and I think that I loved you as a first-time caller. I hope you call in again with more ideas. Okay?
Yes, sir. I do have one small one I can leave you with. These fires that happen out west and all over America, a pole system where the tubes, they're bendable. Like, you ever seen a microphone with it bends? You know, it has it moves. You can move it like a neck on a microphone. Well, imagine water system tube piping a half a foot to a half a foot or a foot thick, which you can move in real quick, hook up together a half a mile of piping, and you bring in the water trucks. You start hauling them in like they do in the highways when they bring in the gravel and the sand to build the roads. When those fires happen, we could shoot water hundreds of feet into the air, blocking and wetting off these fires and putting them out and stopping them dead in their tracks with a huge wall of water that shoots with sprinkler devices. Like you see in the farmlands when they water their fields, they can build them even bigger and have them a half a mile long where they can be easily accessible, and they can hook them up within a matter of an hour and got them ready to go. The fire's coming, boom, they kick on the water and the water truck come in and haul it in and they stop the fires. You know what I mean? You could do it in houses, towns, all kinds of stuff. Just an idea. But anyway.
Well, they do. Well, there are systems you can buy to put around your house. They're extremely expensive. But again, that would be fixing something before it's broken, and the U.S. just doesn't do that. So it sounds like you are thinking of problems and actively going through and trying to fix them. So it's more than most people are doing. Most people are swiping through TikTok. So James, it was a pleasure to have you. Hope to have you back again. It's your first time call. Don't make it your last, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man.
All right, James, you have a good night. That was James. Again, here's one thing, too. He is actually thinking about these things and going through. No one invented anything without trying to invent or without thinking about the problems and trying to make a solution. He's thinking of multiple issues that are coming our way and at least trying to think about, having freestyle sessions and trying to figure out solutions to them. I think it's genius. He's saying that basically how they have those big pipes that water huge fields and things, you could put that on a massive scale around city centers that are high risk for fire, like California. And then when the fire comes that close, it just pumps out and drenches that area and makes kind of a wall. I don't know if they already do that in some extent, but not as big as he's talking. I don't know if it would be possible. Where would the water come from? How would you do it? Don't know. But he's thinking and he's trying. It sounds like he is a very smart guy. Before we move on, I want to remind you, if you have not prepped up, I don't need to really tell you why you should prep with everything that's going on in the world. And the last 3 years, almost everyone before CV thought that prepping was stupid. Almost anybody now understands why people prep now, especially after CV when all of the stores were empty. This is why preppers prepped. And when CV happened and every shelf was empty, all of the Foogle fan members we were already, preaching that, they were fine. They went into their stash and they were fine when all of those shelves were empty. And that's not even a super insane disaster. We're talking about if we truly do have SHTF, if you have this, that is great. If it's not an SHTF and it's just another CV at the very beginning and everybody goes out and panic buys, that's going to help. If it's just a storm where your power goes out for 4 days and so does your local Safeway, QFC, or Albertsons, those go out too, and their freezers stop working, and then all of a sudden you can't get food. This is where this also comes in. You can get short and long-term survival food that is absolutely sealed in, ready to go, ready to store for years. Most cases just add water, or not even. Some are just, boom, open the bag up and eat it. These are what they have over at My Patriot Supply. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Not only will you get $150 off on a 3-month supply, you will also be helping our channel. They don't only have long and short-term survival food, they have water filtration systems, which if everything hits the fan, you're going to need to filter rainwater or whatever other water you can get your hands on, because it will be hard to attain and it will not be flowing out of the pipes. If you want to protect yourself against other things, there's all sorts of gadgets, anything from iodine pills to emergency radios and of course, survival books. There won't be a Google to look up which mushrooms to eat. So make sure to go over there and check it out. It is helping our independent channel. Affiliates like this essentially send us a commission for sending you their way, and that's how we can keep the lights on. So I appreciate everybody that does support. Thank you so much. And of course, again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, and then this is going into what we were talking about today. Again, the number is 224-400-MARF. If you would like to call in, again, it looks like we're getting another caller in. Make sure to call, though, in case that drops out. And then UKR shelling causes huge explosions at the ammo depot in a fresh blow to Putin. So this one was one of the first times, or not one of the first, but one of the more public sides of supposedly UKR attacking on their side. So now it has gone over their border into Russia. It says that a Russian military weapons depot has exploded in the city of Belgorod and close to the UKR border. It says that RT, or Russian media, reports that UKR shelling struck the arsenal, causing it to explode. There are at least 4 injuries, though, that may be downplaying the severity of the attack. Witnesses said that the strike had presumably come either via a drone or short-range ballistic missile. Now, we talked about this on the short video over on Marfoogle News. As far as this goes, one thing this could be a purposeful attack to try to get it to be escalatory. In reality, if things aren't what they look like, and then we are now at the point where we're actually, that by we I mean NATO, all of these different groups are now attacking into their border. Some think that they're trying to do anything they possibly can to get us into WW3. That would be one theory. Or we are knocking that out, so then further screwing them up. If you believe the legacy media, that UKR is basically kicking ass and taking names, and they're all out of names, that, the Bear went in there and just failed horribly, and that they're just backyard troopers that just don't know what they're doing, and they just completely are failing miserably. If you believe that, then yeah, this would be that way. But I don't know. I have thought since the beginning that this looks very, very odd, that this looks like they're purposely not going in and just smashing, or something is different than what they say it is, or they are purposely not taking over. Again, it actually looks like they are now possibly pulling out so they can do a further event. As far as this event, now there is a confirmed attack from them saying that they just had their weapons depot attacked. Is this now grounds for them to now escalate and do something way worse? That is the big question that is being asked here. Their weapons depot was attacked, and now, all of a sudden, Putin is drastically withdrawing troops from Kiev in a sign that UKR is winning. That's how media puts it, is that it's a sign that they're winning. Or are they pulling troops out because they're about to hit it with something very, very bad? Some see this completely opposite, that they are pulling troops out because they don't want to get their troops injured, because they are about to boom. It says that the Bear has said it is to drastically reduce forces near the capital Kiev, and it continues to falter. They're saying because their invasion is faltering. Now, Dex, when you can, I know you're getting John on the line.
I'm here.
So now it looks like Russia was just attacked. Now, all of a sudden, they are making it look like they're about to withdraw. And then in a second here, we're going to talk about potentially them Russia hiding in bunkers. What do you think about all this? And then I have to fix my screen over here, so I'm going to have to go over to a.
No worries. So yeah, a lot of thoughts on this. So obviously, the narrative we're talking about right now is coming from the West. So you have to take, when you're dealing with conflict and you have two adversaries, they're part of the conflict is not just the mechanics and the operations on the field. It's also the information and the flow of information and the ganda that goes out. So we have to deal with and sort of sort through what is legit and what is not, or what is spin, or how something may have been turned. And we tell you in the beginning of every show, take all news, all of it, with a grain of salt, because it doesn't matter who it's coming from. You just really don't know. So I always like to preface with that, just because it seems like everybody has an opinion on this. There's lots of information coming from one side or the other, or a third side off on the other end. So, but the one way I do look at this is we have sort of the West, so to speak, has pretty much put the bear up against a wall, or in a corner, so to speak, with sanctions, with financial crisis, with now, global food shortages, which, by the way, are going to affect them. Their inability to have money or produce money from selling some of the stuff that they've been selling, all of those sanctions are going to hurt them. So when you put, somebody up against the wall, when you put them in a corner, what do? They do, either they give up or they do crazy things. So if that West narrative is the accurate narrative, then, part of me wonders, okay, are we really setting up the stage, so to speak, for the bear to really lash out? And when we talk about these things that have happened, whether it's the pull out or the pull back, or the attack across their border, or as we'll talk in a minute about the hiding, or the people that are in hiding in bunkers, is that, was that just their normal tactic, or is that actually something that is a signal to a position that they're about to take, which may be one of a lashing out, like a last ditch? We need to do something. Now, of course, you can flip the whole thing around, go to the other side of the aisle, and so to speak, and get a completely different perspective that says, oh yeah, we did what we were going to do. We're pulling out. We're not, we're trying to, get to a better place of negotiations, et cetera, et cetera. So, I don't think anyone in our audience, or myself, or even you, Adam, none of us really know. We don't really know. We never will know, because we're only fed the information that we get our hands on. But it's our job to sort of take as much of that information in and have the conversation, so that at least we can understand what's going on, and we can at least, maybe we won't understand actually what's happening, but we can understand at least what's being said. And if we have an open enough mind, then we can, apply some sensibility to it to make the decisions we need to make to protect ourselves and our family, and what is important to us as individuals, right? What are we going to do, and how can we help others around us? So I think that's, it's definitely not, the news isn't one that says, hey, it's the time to go out and, be careless and think everything's just hunky dory. I think the news, no matter how you look at it, it's not a world that is really sound right now. It's very unstable. So I think those are all reasons why we should do the things that a lot of us talk about and preach about, being prepared, doing things that get ourselves ready for events that are out of our control. And no matter which side you're viewing, all of this is out of our individual control.
And then also, as well, and you're a good example of that, you recently off air have been basically prepping your whole family. I think that as we get closer to these events, that most of us, whether you believe any of what's going on or not, everybody feels something bigger is coming. And it doesn't take a genius to see that. It does not, take a crystal ball to see that this B movie is going to end badly. Something is going on here. I do love Abracadabra's comment here, which we've said this many times now, that it looks like they're killing the petrodollar. Said that Vlad started this conflict to have Europe pay in rubles for energy. Not about the UKR, but a bonus. We just helped him kill the petrodollar. That very well may be. Some even believe it's over the water, because when they took Crimea, UKR cut the water off, or supposedly cut the water off to them after they took Crimea. The bear took Crimea. They spent billions of dollars on agriculture there, and then all of a sudden they had no water, so now they're struggling to grow anything. One thing that UKR has is these really a good environment for growing food and things like that. So as far as that's another bonus, I guess, right? If they take that part that they can turn that water back on, which I believe that is one of the Donetsk or Luhansk or whatever it was. So that may be a part of it as well. As far as the petrodollar, that would be the U.S. petrodollar that essentially has kept us at the number one spot, that no matter what country you are, you're spending American cash. For some reason, that was the standard, the world standard, right? Well, if they replace that, they can also replace the number one. And it looks like someone is trying. There is a conflict going on even above this conflict that's secretive, that is information conflicts. There is so much conflict going on right now. It is insane. And at the very bottom of the barrel, they have all of us civilians fighting each other over silly differences as far as what you believe. And some of them aren't silly because it's part of this whole problem. It's about two sides. Well, it's not. Because when it really comes down to it, that person on the R side of the aisle and the person on the D side of the aisle, they're both getting paid to make you think it's about this issue when it's all about the issues right above them. And they're both getting paid from some of these bills, right? That are passing, and laws are changing, and our freedoms are just disappearing at a breakneck speed. It is incredible. Stand for Truth. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for subscribing. Captain Pollywog Vanderbeef. Love your work, guys. Cheers, y'all. Hey, Vanderbeef. I love it. Thank you. Appreciate the support. And then Be Real Beast says, power poles, telephone companies lease the lower sides. So what Be Real Beast on that, based on James the caller, is that the telephone companies lease the lower sides. What's even crazier is that there's less and less telephones. People don't have landlines anymore, and that I think is stupid. We have one, but we don't use it. It's better to have one and not have one. We didn't have it, and then we ended up getting it because we thought it is a smart thing to do, is to have a landline. I understand that will even go down if certain systems go down, so it doesn't matter. But no one, I don't even know the number. I really don't. Not offhand. SC Ian DeBow, I would actually have to look it up. Ian DeBow, no one has ever called it. Yeah. It's pretty funny. If that phone ever rang, I would trip the hell out. I would be like, what the heck? Not even the advertisers have that number. All right. And then,
hey, we have one of those too. And for some reason, my wife likes to give it out. And then she complains when people don't call, like a doctor's office or something. And I'm like, why do you give the number out that we don't even hear ring anymore?
What do you mean? Like, she complains that no one's calling?
Well, no, yeah, no. She'll register for the store card or something, and she'll put that number in, and then later she'll be like, well, I never got the message from it. And I'm like, well, because you gave them the number we don't even use anymore, and we have it, but it just doesn't ring. We don't even hear it.
Well, I just wonder. I wonder if she puts that number down on a thing, and then they end up texting a landline, and it doesn't go anywhere, right?
Exactly.
Everybody's texting now. I remember my sister was one of the first people. My middle sister, I have 3 sisters, and one of them, she was the first one in our family to go like straight cell phone, like didn't have a landline, and we were all like, "That's just weird." Like, Do you guys know anybody that the first person you knew, or maybe you were the first person that you knew that didn't have a landline? It was weird. It was like, you don't have a landline? And back then, because the cell phone was structured and it was so expensive, but they were like, well, if we're paying for this, it was like a money thing. It was like, we're not going to pay for a landline it was when unlimited started being actually unlimited as far as minutes. I cannot believe how expensive cell phone minutes were until they got their new racket, right? The new racket is paying these exorbitant prices for the bills. It's $120 a month or something for unlimited everything. And we used to pay by the minute. Younger people don't even like know how it used to be. Like you couldn't sit there on your phone all day on the internet because you would use up all your data in like 20 minutes. Otherwise, you'd be paying, I remember getting like a $500 bill when I was 18 for like going a couple, 30 minutes over on Facebook or something. Or back then it was MySpace. Just insane how fast things have changed.
You remember roaming on a cell phone back in the old days when you could literally roam in your town? You could be on the wrong network and pay out the wazoo.
Yep. Or long distance, when long distance actually charged. Yeah. Reminiscing. You know what I love on YouTube? You know, the rabbit holes I go down is the retro channels, the ones that show you old PC games or old, hard drive games or DOS games or old gadgets that are like brand new. They get them off of eBay or wherever, and they go over, because a lot of these things that we had when we were kids, it's like even going back 20, 25, 30 years, I could imagine if you're going back 60 years and there's videos on all of this stuff, you can go down that rabbit hole for days. Of course, now we have Putin and cronies are possibly fleeing to secret bunkers in alarming sign that conflict might turn nuclear. So everybody's been talking about, of course, this event that happened on their side of the border, the Bear side, and now they're pulling troops out of Kiev. Is this the setup for this great event that will change the world and put everybody at conflict? Will there be some sort of nuke that's dropped on Kiev, right? They pull their troops out, drop a nuke, and then it escalates everything. U.S. is at war. Newspaper, U.S. is at war. Is this the thing? Or is this hearsay and speculation? Right now, it's more on the side of speculation because it says that new evidence has emerged suggesting that Vlad and his high command are based, some are all the time, in a top secret nuclear bunkers as the bloody conflict unfolds in UKR. Now, of course, if you are in a thing like this, no matter if it's fake, manufactured, or whatever, there's probably countries that want to take you out. So I wouldn't think it's too crazy to think that they're always in a bunker as far as when you're in conflict like this. If it was, not, hey, buddy, sure, I'll take one for the team type of thing. But if this is the case, we always look at the possibility of Fantastic Freddy happening. Now, anybody that knows what a Fantastic Freddy is knows that this is one hell of a setup. You've got the poisoning, you've got the thing that happens on their side, and then all of a sudden you've got them pulling troops out and possibly in a bunker. Don't really need to tell you to put two and two together. That's why I say if these three stories are over on Marfoogle News as a short video, share that out with friends and family. Hopefully, by just asking that question, maybe that will wake people up to possibly look at a plan, make a plan for anything, because anything can happen in this time. It's not to scare people. It's to wake them up and say, hey, no matter who is behind this, what the motivation is, or what two sides are battling, 3 sides, 5 sides, doesn't really matter. People, the matriarchs and the patriarchs of their family should be looking after their kids and themselves. Right now, there is too much going on. Kiwi Lass, NZ, gas in the West will be worthless soon as we are moving away from it. Kiwi, that's why we've been saying go solar, at least go protected solar as fast as you can, because gas is going to be virtually unattainable. You already see countries setting up. They are setting up the infrastructures for no gas. Now, how do you get away from gas when all of the world's money is based on the petrodollar? And the petrodollar is why U.S. is number one? Well, where would we go instead of gas? Oh, all electric? Who's got that market absolutely cornered as far as batteries, the 40% of the resources? Oh, China. Dex, have you thought about that? As far as the Dragon over in the east, they have a ton locked down of the natural resources actually required to make this stuff. It's like that's going to be the new oil, right? Is these resources for batteries and electric.
Absolutely. Whether it's lithium or the other rare earth elements that we talked about in last night's show specifically, you know, the fact that they have the majority of them, at least mineable. I think, you know, we can certainly say there's probably other locations, including locations we recently evacuated from with our troops that have rare earth elements in it that can be mined. But right now, where they're actually being produced is the majority are coming out of the Dragon country.
I would say just an idea is these battery companies and the lithium companies or whatever corporations, those are probably the ones to invest in right now. Maybe that's why the Keystone wasn't extended, or they stopped because it already exists, right? But maybe it was not. Maybe they stopped it because they're like, well, there's no point because in a few years we're not going to be using it. Maybe they know something's about to switch like overnight. Again, how are you going to go off of the petrodollar unless you collapse it? By the way, the petrodollar, as they say, U.S. currency is literally printed out of nothing. It's based on debt. Any financial expert saw that eventually the money would collapse. Jack Dorsey, elite, has some of the highest friends in the world as far as he hangs out with princes and these gas tycoons, and even the tycoons are investing in electric. He said hyperinflation is coming soon, a week before he stepped down as the CEO of Twitter. Scary prediction there. I wonder how long hyperinflation, if it happens, would last before all of a sudden, oh, now we're in a new system with a new currency based on digital or on, Bitcoin or something else. All right, and then let's get our next caller on. John, before we get John on, I do want to remind you, this is why a lot of folks are going to solar, but on another note, why, if you haven't checked these out, this is an energy solar generator. It is running my show right now, and I am excited to say that I finally got my panels. Hold on, let me show you. All right, so first of all, I will just show you. This is an affiliate, so obviously this is a product that when you go and buy, they give us a small commission for sending you their way. In turn, they did send me some panels. So full disclosure, they sent me these panels. And otherwise we don't get paid by them, and we're not paid to say anything good or bad. Again, I think this was more to display how fast this thing could charge. Very luckily too, because these are really awesome panels. This is one of their portable panels. So this is the panel, and guess what? It actually unfolds. It has nice little clasps, and it can be chain linked. This thing is booyah. It is beautiful. It is solid, and it comes with an amazing freaking case, and it even has a carrying handle, and it closes like a briefcase. If you want to go check these out, you can do so and help the channel at the same time. Oh! And even if I did drop it, it's solid metal. So hopefully it wouldn't hurt the thing. Those can be chained. The cool thing about the Energy solar generator, one, it's silent, so nobody's going to know that you have one. Two, it is expandable. When you get one of those just little box solar generators, most of the time they're encased. You cannot expand it. This actually is set up so where they stack like boxes, and you can stack it on 1, 2, 3, 96 batteries you can connect to one Flex 1500. So the more batteries you have, the longer time you have. This is one of the coolest systems, and I didn't really even truly realize it until after I got it, how flexible it was. You can plug it into the wall and be charging it. It's not charging fast enough, you can plug it into the wall and solar. It's not charging fast enough, you can put the mod that lets you allow you to do 3 times the panels. So you can do 4, 8, 12 panels all at 100 watts, and boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, you're charging in absolutely no time. You have 3 batteries. You want to supercharge it, then you can get back to the time that you always wanted. Other ones, it's like you have to, the battery, because of the technology, you have to plug it into the wall, or if you have to change it, you have to undo that and then do the other one. This, you can be charging it from everything, and it's a smart enough battery that it knows where it's charging from. Again, this thing is absolutely insane. There's a waiting list. So if you want one of these, go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. Use the code Marfoogle. Again, we're trying to work with them to see if they can do like a group thing, because most people are going to want panels. Otherwise, if you don't have panels, you can get them from Amazon. You can get them from anywhere. I got the ones from them, which are absolutely just phenomenal. But you can also go and get them from anywhere. You can use the ones you have already as long as you have the adapter. So again, really amazing. That's why it shows multiple different kinds of panels. You can go as far or far out as you want with 96 batteries, or you can just do one and take it camping and power your TVs, your freaking refrigerators, your microwaves, whatever you want. So again, make sure to go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. Thank you, Energy, for sending the panels. That really does help, because the actual generator is not a cheap product. This thing is a freaking high quality machine. So again, make sure to go check it out. Thank you again for going and doing so. Thank you for everybody that supports our affiliates. We are completely transparent. Again, with covering the controversial stuff like this keeps us going. So thank you so much for doing so. And I think it will save lives as far as the prep food and the EMP shields. I think that they will eventually save lives. All right, and then Dex, let's get our next caller on. It looks like John is on the phone. And John is going to be talking about...
And Adam, John is now live.
Oh, talking about the doomsday clock and being close to midnight. All right, John, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Oh, well, it's great to be live with you.
So, the doomsday clock, is that what you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, it got a little bit of mention during the last administration, depending on whatever foreign policy thing was happening, because, if you remember in the media, it was largely portrayed as incompetent, and, part of that fed into the, over 2 minutes from midnight now. And I believe the clock came about after the Cuban Missile Crisis, or it might have been during, but before that was the closest, whereas now, I actually am sweating it just a little bit, because, if you followed any of what's happening in the UKR, I saw a video finally, and I mean, it's not like an entertaining thing, what happens in these conflicts, but it is amazing to see the technology at play. But there was a hypersonic missile launched. And I think most people might have seen the video as kind of almost looked like a comet go through the sky, but you didn't see it hit anything. Well, this weekend, they had a video from about, it looked like 5 miles away, And the UKR is a really flat country, kind of like Nebraska in some places. So if you're in like a 4-story building, you know, you can see pretty far away. And in the video, which wasn't, you know, shot with Steven Spielberg level of production, but was definitely better than a potato cam. I mean, you saw a flash of light, like lightning, like what you would expect if someone was getting smited by God. And then the next second, the very next frame, you see, you know, the telltale can of mushroom soup, that type of cloud, you know. And that could have been generated just from the impact, because these things go at, you know, sometimes Mach 12. And I want to say this is the first time in combat any weapon like this has ever been deployed. And not only that, you know, they deployed more of those caliber cruise missiles, which most people must think is just like a small missile, but it delivers a devastating blow. Like it takes one to destroy a rebar-enforced concrete building. And they launched those the same time that, you know, the current president was in Poland, just literally a hop and a skip over the border, delivering a, you know, a message to the troops and calling Putin, you know, the bear, all sorts of things, you know. So to me, you know, this 100 seconds to midnight, instead of being like a PR stunt or something, you know, I'm actually almost starting to feel it, because, you know, last year we were all knee deep in Corona and what was going on with that. And, you know, it's almost like you're in a, if you're anything like me, you're in a daze almost, because we've effortlessly kind of left that behind. And all of a sudden, Russia, I mean, the bear has been disconnected from the global marketplace. And all of a sudden, they've adopted a gold-based ruble, which, as most people know, got Gaddafi bayoneted to death on the front of a car. And when he tried to do that with the Libyan currency, whatever that was, I don't quite recall. But, you know, all of a sudden, the petro, like, who ever thought that in 2022, which, you know, the last few years has not been positive for a lot of people, but in 2022, all of a sudden, the backbone of the American empire, the thing that makes it so, Raytheon and Boeing and Lockheed Martin, I've seen some of these facilities. These facilities, if you thought, you know, what sort of facility you would need on like a Martian surface to survive, this like fits the bill. I mean, they're massive. They could fit anything in there. You know, that is sustainable because Saudi Arabia, with still the world's largest proven reserves, you know, they turn our dollars into what you need to buy oil. And they're literally out in public saying, oh yeah, this current administration really kind of pisses us off all the time. And they ignore us for some thing happening in the UKR, which, you know, if you follow some of the reporting, seems like it's a slush fund for certain people. And perhaps that might have something to do with why you would threaten, you know, global civilization, possibly. But, you know, I don't want to make it anything like that. You know, I just wish we had leadership. I think everybody wish we had leadership that inspired more confidence on the international stage. Because the last administration, you know, some people actually have to thank him because he's the one that's flooded the UKR with anti-tank weapons, which, by the way, you know, they clearly do work. I mean, it's not like a tank is what it was in World War I or World War II. But I've seen some videos of, you know, the most modern version of the T-72 in action. And, you know, the Azov or whoever it is will have a Swedish, really sweet-looking anti-tank weapon. Almost makes you want to have one, even though in your daily life you don't normally need to take out a tank. You know, I saw it hit the top, you know, the top of the tank, and it hit the reactive arm, and the tank just went on like nothing mattered. So, you know, the fact they have a fighting chance at all is kind of thanks to the last administration. And, you know, it's just this whole confluence of circumstances. Like, who thought we would wake up and the petrodollar, I think we all kind of, no matter what side you're on, realize that the petrodollar has probably been stabbed literally in the heart. Who thought we would wake up to that? And that we'd wake up, like I said, you need to have your brain guy, like your tech guy, like that genius Dex guy, have him find that like 15-second video, because it is shocking that, because if you remember a couple of weeks ago, Iran fired some cruise missiles into Iraq. But you could see the missiles come down. You still saw them. I mean, it's awe-inspiring and terrible, but you still saw it. This was literally like a lightning strike from God. And I've never seen anything like it. And let's just say the people in charge now, who have kind of created this mess, I feel like maybe they are not navigating us to security, if that's a good way of putting it.
I wouldn't put it as maybe. And by the way, it seems like it's like purposefully guiding it should be called the Pedro dollar, but yeah, it's just literally collapsing in front of our eyes. And I agree with that. This is scary. As far as the hypersonic and all of the technology and everything that's going on, I think that there are steps that we could take that would scare the crap out of the whole world, but it's like we're purposely not taking them, and it's almost like they're supposed to screw up right now and kind of flub up, and we lose all confidence. The whole world is like, we're gonna go give our money to these guys because they don't look like they're about to, change their pants.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems the swiftness of, for example, like how the bear and the dragon were able to overcome being disconnected from Swift almost instantly. You know, I mean, you don't just do that overnight. The fact that happened so quickly, I mean, that raises some questions. As far as things people can do, I will say, where I live, I've seen the declassified documents, and I doubt it's really, changed, because why wouldn't it? But where I'm at is supposed to receive 2 airbursts, and each are supposed to be in the megaton range. So it'll be over so quickly for me, I won't even realize it. I won't have to deal with the zombie wasteland.
Well, I don't think many of us will be. Well, incredible call. I appreciate you calling in. Is there one more thing you want to say before you go, John?
Yeah, I would just say that, I'm in a Christian country. It sometimes feels like saying that is almost makes me a minority. I know it doesn't, but it's kind of a weird thing. But I will say, as bad as things are, when I turn to the Bible and you realize that this whole great universe, it can't be a coincidence, why we're here and why everything's happening, that that God is in charge. So I have faith there. I just worry that we are running into a position where maybe civilization isn't destroyed in a nuclear bake-off, but we could definitely endure some sort of hardship. And, I worry about that, and I pray about that, of course, with this current administration. But I would tell everybody, it's easy to look into to look up and see all of these terrible things and be overwhelmed. But if you turn to the Bible, I mean, it's the Bible for a reason. I mean, God is there, and that's what I'd like to conclude with with you and your great audience.
Well, thank you, John, and you made me laugh and you made me cry. That is the best kind of call. Well, especially with having to own a tank, a tank. What is it called? An S772 or something, whatever it was. That's funny.
Yeah, it's a T-72, like B-34 object 330 or something. An engineer obviously named it.
I also agree with you on like Boeing and Raytheon and all those places. If you've ever been there, I went as a driver and I dumped a dumpster there. I used to take those big containers that haul away containers that you drop at construction sites, and they were doing work. And they ended up inviting me in, and it was like 105 degrees. They said, "Hey, there's free drinks inside. You can come on inside." I had to walk through the one of the Boeing buildings, and I just couldn't believe the size of this place. But on top of that, they had me walk through an area where normally you need a badge. He's like, "Well, you're fine if you're with me. Just walk through." And there was like these glass windows. I was technically outside of it, but I was walking through the observation area, and they were working on looked like what were weapons. And it looked like a laser. It looked like something out of a cartoon. It was just this huge thing. And I said, "Is that a weapon?" And he said, "No comment." And then he said, "It's probably more communications." And I said, "Oh, okay." It was communications. It looks like a huge laser gun. And then I couldn't believe, there was an area where they were wearing suits, like full on suits. And it was because it was I said, "Well, what is that about? Is there chemicals?" And he says that some of the stuff that they use in building is pretty dangerous, but what that was for is that they have to have a sterile environment for some of the electronics. And I was like, whoa. So I totally get what you're saying when you say like some of these places are so high tech, unbelievable, just insane. So what are we doing? How is backwards failing, just putting 40 miles of tanks in a single row for the drones to take out? How are they getting to hypersonics before us? Thank you, John. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And again, thank you so much. You have a wonderful night, John.
All right. You too, buddy.
All right, John, please call back, okay? Yeah, John made me laugh. That was funny. I think as far as with Gaddafi, and he made a good point with Gaddafi, and I want to say Hussein. I want to say he made a threat to do that. And I want to say that, what's his face? It was anything gold backed. It's like, whoosh. All right. And then we have web only content. Dex, do you want to go over the web only content tonight?
Well, yeah. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on a thumbnail for the show, or open up the link right there in the description. It's called Show Notes. It'll take you to web-only content. You can find out the rest of the story, things that are too hot for TV, too far to one side. I'll leave you with this one. Another letter in the alphabet is apparently going to be banned. So go find out. If you want to know what it is, head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail, and go take a look. And by the way, the video that John was just talking about, I think I got the right one, and I put it on there underneath his call. So all the caller information is there too.
I'll just refresh this real quick. This is how updated the website is. During the show, our callers info has been added. So now when you go there, you will see the videos from Wages World and, of course, James. So, yep, it just popped up. There it is. So if you want to watch what he was talking about, go over and check it out right now. And then now is officially time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. Again, thank you, Release of Quack and Groovy Grandma, Gem, and Serenity PA. Thank you, everybody. R-Tail. And a special thank you, Gone Girl, wherever you are. Thank you so much. And I'm praying for you to get better. And, of course, Susan Donahue, EOD Vet, Veteran Steve. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank your mods. Thank Ilea. Thank Jay. Thank CJ Blaze, Trinity, West Virginia Prepared Mind. Thank everybody out there. Love you guys. Again, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Proud, it's a nuclear country now. So glad, so proud of my concrete bunker now. Bunker down, mushroom cloud. It's a nuclear country now. So glad, so proud of my concrete bunker now. Thank you, Brett Butler, Anna's Lily's mom, Barry Munson, Jeff Crawford, Stephen McMahon. Thank you, everybody that supported tonight, including Irish Rebel.